Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee, a podcast where we talk about the business of video production.
Kyrill,
Great.
you're always really good at the intros, so I'll let you go ahead and do your thing.
All the pressure is always on, you know?
No pressure, man. It's not going to be watched by like 2,000 people, you know?
Exactly.
No one's watching this.
Yeah.
Unless it goes viral, something weird happens. I don't know.
It's for the 3 fans that we have, 1, 2, 3 right here, right? And
Exactly.
Okay. Anyways, welcome everybody to Creatives Grab Coffee. Today we're joined by James Clement from Slant Visuals, a video production company based out of Montreal that helps businesses share stories that make them human. So, James, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're doing
good.
Fantastic.
I'm just so shocked Kyrill got that, like he improv that whole opener just now.
Well done.
I would have been like a mess trying to do that. There would have been so many ums and uhs and who's this guy again? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's a gift.
Well done.
So how has 2022 been for you so far, James?
2022 has been pretty good. When the pandemic hit, there was definitely a dip initially, like I'm sure there was for most people, and then started doing some Zoom interviews, stock footage content, whatever we really could, and then eventually it started just picking up again. I've had a few shoots as we came back that my clients called me up and said, hey, just so you know, one of us tested positive, and we're like, oh, we got to test everybody from the crew, and we've had a few of those. So but fortunately, anybody who has caught it's been good, and business is getting back up. So right now we're like full capacity. Really, we can't take on much work than we have. So
that's good
awesome
to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's always nice to hear that other people are keeping busy, like amidst the pandemic. Like we've mentioned this many times on the podcast before, where early on in the pandemic, we were really concerned, for everyone, and anytime we saw someone being able to work, it's like, great, this is awesome. Everyone is still keeping busy.
It means the ball's rolling back again. But one thing you mentioned, you were doing stock footage.
Yeah.
When business was a little slow during the pandemic. Tell us a bit about that, because we were thinking about doing that too. And I think Kyrill was looking into it, and at the end of it, we just decided it wasn't worth the effort. Like it was too complicated to do it. What was it, Kyrill?
I think what he meant though was that they were doing a lot of like stock footage type content for their clients. Is that correct?
Is that
like
it?
A little bit more in that?
No, even using stock footage to create like content for Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, things like that.
Just
like for your own brand, or for like other people?
No, for other brands. Basically I use ArtGrid. They're like pro accounts, so you can get the log footage, which helps, because sometimes when you have the regular one, like everything's very saturated, everything's different, so it starts to look like a stock footage piece put together. And we were able to, there's one company I was working with on Retainer, and for example, they had an event where they were offering the vaccine to all their staff if they wanted it. So we were creating content. It was called Take the Shot, and we were using stock footage to create like a short series of videos highlighting like where we came from in the pandemic and how we're progressing and where the company's at now. And it was all using stock footage.
Oh, that's awesome to hear that you managed to kind of keep to that, because that was the idea that we were thinking. Most companies would kind of go with that approach, but at least on our end, in our case, a lot of clients just stopped working altogether. So there wasn't even that opportunity to explore that option, right? And I'm sure there was the same case for a lot of people. Do you feel like with the clients that you were working with, were they still like very determined to kind of keep pushing forward so that they don't stop during the pandemic, or was it kind of like a slight dip but not sure what to do?
Yeah, I had a bit of a mix. Most of my clients though were pretty keen on moving forward. I had switched to having a lot of like I mentioned earlier, retainer clients. So I'd been shooting in the past and building up a bank of footage as well for them from previous projects. If it's footage of people working in an office, I had a ton of it. So I was able to kind of piece sometimes footage I previously shot with stock footage. And that gave me a good ability to tell the stories I needed to get the message across. And yeah, they were keen on moving forward. I would say more than like 70% of the work, they were keen on keeping something going, and they were open to discussing with me ideas on what that would look like, you know, be it Zoom interviews or stock footage or what have you.
I think
But by retainer clients, do you mean like just like your long-term clients, or did you actually have like a retainer agreement with them? Like, I don't know, like a 6-month, 12-month, like how did that work on your end?
Yeah.
So you were actually able to, okay. Because we
Yeah.
were wondering about that. We've been never able to implement that too well. And we barely know anyone that kind of has that type of agreement going on. Like we mostly just have like our long-term clients that just use us as their like main vendors. But in terms of actually securing like I don't know how what your package is. Like tell us a bit about that.
Or like approach to it.
Yeah, for sure. So I had clients where I was doing just work on and off. And then eventually we switched to doing, you know, here are all the videos we want to do. Maybe there's like 12 videos we want to do. And I would create a package for that and price that, and that would be it. And then I also did weekly. So per week, you know, how much content are we creating? We're doing, you know, 3 social media posts a week and maybe 1 longer piece a month. And they would pay X amount per week. And then it became kind of a monthly retainer. And basically we just agreed upon the amount of content to create for that month. And then every month they send over a payment. And yeah, it's been a good switch, because it's, you know, I was fortunate to always have enough work, but it's nice to have that retainer to be able to know there's like stability there, and then you can take shots here and there on other projects. And I didn't want too many of them, because I don't know, I'm a bit part of the reason I'm in film is because I don't like doing the same thing all the time. So I also don't want to be stuck, you know, telling the same stories over and over. And so it's nice to have a little bit of a mix, you know, there's that stable kind of bit of a balance, and then you can, you know, take some other shots on other projects and get a little bit more,
I mean,
a little different.
I mean, the good thing is that essentially that pays the bills, you know, it keeps you consistent, which allows you to know that you're financially stable, to be able to do a lot of the really cool human focused stories that you promote, like, for example, on your website. One thing I've always been curious though about with these like retainer type projects is that, do you feel like there is like a type of client or industry necessarily that kind of leans a little bit more towards the retainer type projects, or is it kind of like it's all over the place, or it's like a luck of the draw of like who you've been connected to and what their goals are?
Yeah, it's, you know, I would say, because right now I have 2 main retainer clients. One is a logistics company and the other is a marijuana growing company. So
oh wow,
very different ends of the spectrum there.
So is it the logistics of marijuana?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I should link them together so they'll have someone to ship it. So it's a bit of a different mix. I mean, it's just companies who put a strong emphasis on social media more than anything. I would say they realize that, you know, they need content, they need a lot of it, and they're burning through it. It's a bit of a balance that though too, because, you know, I have a lot of clients now, even like, oh, we want to get into TikTok and short Instagram stories, and there's all these little gimmicks of someone, you know, putting their hand in front of the camera and then it changes to something else, and it's not super my jam to, you know, I'm more into the storytelling element of it. So it's, but, you know, some for the real and some for the meal, as they say. So
some for the real, some for the meal. I love that saying. I've never heard that saying before. That is that you gotta like patent that or no, not patent, trademark that.
Yeah, so I tell myself for sure. I mean, I've met a lot of filmmakers I admire who do like really cool, like I see their Nike specs. I'm like, man, the work you do is awesome. And they're like, yeah, that's like 2% of my work. He's like,
it's always like that.
He's like, I just shot a diaper commercial, you know. There's a mix. There's a mix of the two, you know, and you got to, those projects allow you to do some of the more fun, creative ones. And ultimately, as long as I have a camera and I'm editing and I'm shooting, like I'm happy, really.
It's interesting because like whenever you look at anyone's work online, like everybody's promoting that 1% or 2% of projects that they've done because obviously that is their best potential and their best foot forward. But it's almost crazy to think that there's such a whole other side of it where like people are just like 98% of the work that they do is, like you said, for the meal, you know, like the work that kind of keeps everyone going. And it's sometimes like when you see other people's work, you're like, oh man, I'm not doing enough of that because they keep posting all this great work. But it's like, oh wait, no, we're doing the same thing, you know,
Yeah,
we're quoting
absolutely.
our best ones out.
Yeah, we're all just, you know, trying to make everybody else think we're cooler than we are. All our filmmaker friends were like, oh, I don't want him to see my, you know, my corporate video I did with some guy sitting at his desk. That's not cool. I'm going to post the Nike ad with the model I shot, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's almost as if you would be more, you would be very different posting that corporate work now, you know, because everything's so super creative. How do you stand up with the basic stuff out there, right?
Yeah. Exactly. You know, I'm
Hey
trying to bring
James,
some, yeah.
oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm trying to bring some of that coolness, I don't know what the word to use, to the corporate world as well. So like the human stories, like you mentioned on the website, is I'm really, you know, we're really focused on creating a connection with a brand, with their audience, and, you know, focusing more on the why behind people do what they do, the passion, more about their character. And that allows for a lot of really cool stuff. Unfortunately, like, you know, all the brands I've been working with have been very open to doing that. You know, we did a video recently where the guy is a logistics manager, but he was also a chef. So we did a whole video of him cooking, combined with talking about how managing logistics is kind of like managing a kitchen. So it was really cool. Like you would think corporate videos would be this boring, bland thing, but we're finding ways to make it creative. And that's, I kind of take it as my responsibility to like, okay, make this job interesting. I look at it's some person at a desk working on a spreadsheet. I'm like, okay, that's, you know, that's a challenge. So how do we get creative? That's why they're paying me, and that's why I'm there. So I'm excited to, like, you know, and they're allowing me to try new things to promote. So it's cool.
What kind of industries do you focus on?
A lot of them, you know, I keep wondering if I should niche down to be a bit more specific, but right now, a lot of what I'm working on is recruiting. A lot of businesses really want content to help promote their company so that they're an employer of choice. That seems the biggest one. You know, they want to create content that kind of inspires the employees they have currently, and also kind of invites people in to want to apply for them. So that's like a lot of work that I'm getting now.
That makes
I guess
sense.
that makes sense why, like,
Yeah.
you're getting people that, or employers that want to do something different. Because sometimes we found that with certain clients, like they want different, but they want the same at the same time, right? You
That
kind of,
happens so often now.
yeah,
It's wild how like as you said, Dario, like they want to like make something cool, but then every example they start sending you is a lot of the same stuff of what they want. And it's really cool that you've kind of been able to start building that trust in your clients where, you know, like trust me to do this project like this so that you know, you guys are going to get something different, you know. Like how do you typically go about kind of like building that? Like obviously like with a long-term client it's easier, but like when you're starting with someone, how do you typically go about kind of establishing that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I focused a lot over the years on forming more of a process when I meet with a client. When I first started like 13 years ago, I was like flying by the seat of my pants, just being like, this is cool, you should do this. You know what I mean? Look how cool this is, but it doesn't really work. Realize that, you know, a lot of these people, they want a video because they want to solve a problem, they want to achieve a goal. You know, they didn't wake up and just say, hey, I need a video for no reason. They're like, you know, they're saying we're not getting enough followers on Instagram, we're not having enough people convert for this or that. So when I show them kind of how the type of storytelling I do connects with the audience and how it is the best way to drive action, they've been on board with it, and they've seen, you know, through my examples, you know, that that can be very beneficial, and it does work, you know, especially with all the noise there is now with mediocre content being thrown around. They're focused on doing something a little more high end, a little more polished, and they've been open to it. And the ones that aren't, you know, we're not always the best fit, and we'll tell them like, hey, you should, you know, I'm totally fine now saying, hey, maybe you should go with someone else because we're not the best fit for you.
do you get very detailed when you're explaining that to them? Like, do you talk like KPIs, numbers, ROI, like?
Well, a question I like to ask often is, okay, you know, because there's so often where a company might spend like 10 grand on a project, you put it up on YouTube, there's like 5 views, or like, did we succeed? Are you happy? Did you spend that 10 grand and feel like, yeah, that was worth it? Or were you like, I never should have spent that, I'm not going to call this guy again? So I always ask them, like, what's your goal 6 months down the line, a year down the line? what have we done? Like, did you increase, website visits by 50%? Did you have, 20% more applications? What are you hoping to achieve, and where are you at now? And then I try to get as much as I can information from them when the project started, as it continues, and at the end, saying, hey, did we move the needle at all? And you don't always, and it's hard to directly come back and say, oh, this worked because of this, because there's a whole media buy behind it too. They have to promote it the right places. It's not just the video. But the fact that they see that you're thinking that way and you're caring about those numbers is really important to them. They're saying, okay, this guy's not just making this his cool art project. He cares about helping me solve this problem. And most of the time it does move the needle. So they see, especially the returning clients, they see the benefit of it. And they're like, okay, let's, this worked, let's keep doing it. It's not always cut and dry saying where you can, they'll give you the numbers and tell you that it's not that simple. But you can get some kind of, they see that you're pushing it that way, and they see what your intent is.
Yeah, we notice a lot of the times, like, we're good on our end, but they're not really promoting it properly on their end. And even like sometimes they'll reach out to us and they're like, okay, this is our budget for this video, but it's like in terms of marketing budget, they're like, oh wait, we gotta market this thing. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like, this is fuel, but where's your car, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Or technically they have the car but not the fuel,
or the other way around. But anyways.
I got the point. No, but that's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, I've done great videos. I'm like, man, this is like one of my favorite I've ever shot. And then you get like 5 views on YouTube, and I'm like, well, that was
the worst is when they posted like Friday at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, why are you even up right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna work well.
I found that was more early on though, like in terms of those ones. Like I feel like people have gotten a lot more strategic now in terms of, at least the people that I've seen in my network.
I think it's more so the clients we're dealing with now are more strategic than our earlier clients.
That too, exactly. It all depends on the people you're working with at the time. And obviously when you're starting out, you're going to get such a huge range of characters that you work with, like what would you say is probably one of the most like funny or kind of like a standout kind of like first client that you worked with?
That's interesting. I mean, I started in just like my first year of college. I was doing nightclub videos. So
oh really?
Oh my god, yeah, I did a ton of them. Terrible pay, showing up at 11, getting home at 3, trying to chase a promoter for my money, and he's offering
oh my god
vodka coupons instead of payment. Just a disaster. A buddy of mine from school, we were trying to film these nightclubs, and hopefully the DJ will see how good our video is, and then hopefully he'll want a music video, and we'll shoot a music video for him, and that'll be our ticket, to the top. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. And there's a lot of people tricking you, and I've lost money, and you name it. You learn the lessons. I haven't made those mistakes twice, so that's good.
We did a video for a DJ group early on as well. It was fun to do, but we knew right then and there like that wasn't going to be like our long-term thing.
Yeah, music videos are tough. They're tough.
Yeah. And it's like you're driving to like even like different spots all the time. Imagine now if you needed to go do nightclub videos, you have to drive down with your gear, you park. What are you gonna get? $100, but parking is like $50.
Yeah,
You're gonna spend the whole night there. You get a drink, that's another $10. You're going break even at the end of the night.
That's a great gig if you're like in high school and you're just doing it as a hobby. That's amazing. Because
what high schoolers are getting in nightclubs?
Hey, you guys were cooler than me growing up, apparently. Took me a while.
Dario's just he's just playing right now.
Flexing on the podcast.
So. One thing I wanted to go back to when you mentioned you were doing a lot of that stock footage type content for a lot of your clients. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that whenever we do projects for clients, we usually either start with like under the assumption that we're going to be able to film something or do animations or do some kind of creation where literally what you're doing is taking building blocks that are already there and trying to craft new stories out of them. Like, how did that kind of process start for you? Like, how do you how was that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing ads for this art grid website, and I'm like, well, this footage looks pretty cool, and I just kind of checked it out one night in bed. I'm like, man, I saw some of the footage. I'm like, this is really cool stuff. It wasn't the typical stock footage I'd see from like, I don't know, any other website. I don't want to drop names. And I was just like, man, I wish I had a shot like that and I could tell a story like this or like that, just like for my own interest. There was this cool shot. I saw a guy in like a hazmat suit right on the water. I'm like, this is a cool shot. So just the idea of, I'm like, I wonder what, like, for fun, using like music bed and the stock footage that I could create that would just kind of scratch that creative itch and would be fun to put together. And then I thought, I wonder how I could do this, but for clients as well. You know, there's a limit to it, obviously, but there was a lot, and I'm not doing it as much now that it's opening up more, but there was still a lot you could do with the stock footage.
Well, the good thing about it is that it's kind of like this is like one thing that I've always kind of like preached as like a good thing about our industry is that the best creativity sometimes comes out of the limitations that you have. Sometimes I feel like when I have like nowadays, sometimes it feels like, you know, when we have like, say, all the gear that we could possibly need, you know, then it's like, all right, so where do we start now, right? Whereas early on when we were starting out, all we had was a camera, maybe one light, and a microphone, and it's like you got to get very creative to make that engaging content, right? The stock footage approach is kind of like a similar thing where it's like, this is what I have, like I have to get very creative in how to craft it based on that, instead of like, say, for example, like being able to make it exactly the way it would be most convenient or simple, right? And that's one cool thing, I guess, that you were able to implement. You know, it's almost like that. I don't know if you guys saw early on that art grid ad where that guy is on his desktop, and he's just how would you like to start make an advertisement using just stock footage? You know, go to art grid, and this guy did it. James did it.
Yeah, he's got that. I know that ad. Yeah, he's got like an aggressive like Australian accent or something.
Yeah, he was like, come on, you can do it.
Yeah. It's not something I saw myself necessarily doing, but I mean, I've continued to use it for stuff where, I don't know, we have a run and gun shoot and I don't have time for the drone and we're in the woods. I'm like, this is a great forest drone shot. Let's put that at the beginning. You know, I can't sacrifice my whole shoot for this one drone shot. So let's get the footage we need, and then we'll find a cool establishing drone shot if we need it.
Yeah, it can be good filler for sure. That's a good approach. Like we've had that for a Kickstarter project we did at the end of last year, where they wanted to have one particular shot of like people kind of like walking into the sunset kind of thing. I was like, when do you get the time to go and film that very specific shot, right? And that's why it's there. That's why stock footage is there.
Yeah, exactly.
James, you said you've been doing this for 13 years, right?
So I'm 33 now. I started when I was probably 20.
Oh, when you were okay, that's interesting. Like, so you give us the initial rundown, like with the clubbing scene. So how did you get from there to where you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, so I started doing that, and then eventually I got into just event videos. I met some people through working there that were having events they would do, like when NASCAR would come to town, they would throw a big event. And so I would film that, and I got into doing more and more events. And once I did events, I met a photographer at an event who did weddings, and he said, like, I'm going to do this wedding. Like, do you want to come film it? I'm like, I don't even know what that looks like. What is a wedding? I don't even know. So I
remember my first wedding.
Oh yeah.
We all remember.
Everybody's done it. Everybody's done it for sure. I feel like it's like a taboo thing to talk about sometimes.
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to do the wedding. You know, you're in a rundown motel and the bride's getting her dress on. You're like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? I thought I was going to do Hollywood movies.
Or like there's no vendor table. You're like, man, what am I doing in my life? I gotta like
standing in a corner, like eating a spring roll. You know?
I thought I was going to be on the red carpet in school. And, now I'm doing this.
Now I'm on a red carpet, but not that kind of carpet.
Exactly. So I started doing those, and I remember I did one, and it just blew up. Like was getting calls like crazy to do more weddings. So I was like, hey, let's do this. I was doing it, making good money. I went from 1, then I did 8, then I did 30. So
nice.
It just kind of, at the time too, it was good money. It was a way to really hone my craft. I was filming like all the time, nonstop.
What year was that? Sorry, like when you started doing the weddings?
The weddings, probably a little, like maybe a year or two after the 5D came out.
Oh yeah, so like 2009, 2010.
That was a good time to get into it.
Yeah.
That was the boom. That was
the DSLR era.
Exactly. I was following along with Still Motion. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was kind of like just taking their word as God. I just followed them and bought all their courses and was kind of figuring it out as I went, because I dropped out of film school. So and kind of just was taking projects, learning, shooting whatever I could, making mistakes, ton of mistakes, and just kind of learning. And then once I was done, well, the weddings, I still have a wedding company that I own. I'm just not as involved in it.
What's it called?
Spark Films.
Okay.
Yeah. But that again is a like 10 wedding max, like high-end kind of clientele. So it's not like a wedding factory.
Do you still shoot, or you just like oversee it?
Yeah, no, I still shoot for sure. Yeah, I'll still shoot depending on the gig kind of thing.
Kyrill and I were debating Kyrill and I were debating, like, because we did a lot of weddings too. Still have some left over now, but we were debating maybe just opening up our own thing, like setting a high price and maybe just doing like 5 to 10 like you're doing now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I mean, like I'm relying on my corporate, and if people don't want to pay the premium for the weddings, that's fine. There's no problem. But there's people out there who will. Stick with the corporate, and you sprinkle in a few weddings there, and it's great.
No,
so where was I then? I guess I was doing the weddings. Then at the weddings, I would meet people, and they're like, "Oh, I saw the wedding video you did. Like, it's great. I have like a car dealership. Can you do like? I would love a video. Can you make something?" And then I started getting corporate gigs from the weddings, and then slowly shifted more to the corporate side. And those corporate gigs grew and grew and got bigger and bigger. And I, messed up a ton of them. Well, at least from my perspective, the client was happy, but I was like, "Ooh, I didn't do very good there." Just kind of figuring it out as I went. And then, just got bigger and bigger clients, and ended up where I am now.
Just snowballed, right? Is it
just kind of snowballed.
Is it just you still that's kind of like the core team, or do you have like a core team of people that you work with?
I have a core team of people. Nobody like on payroll or anything like that. It's just like a group of, so I have like a big Excel spreadsheet with like my sound guys, my like production assistant.
That's what we have too.
Yeah. A project comes, I'm like, this guy's good, this guy's on vacation. I call my buddy, hey, like, are you available? We're going here, we're going there. And we work it out. I mean, I did a video a couple of years ago where we drove like 12 hours for like a 30-minute interview. So I was like, okay, I need the right guys.
Wow, that's oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was not I was like, you should just fly these people in. That might be more cost
effective.
Go to
Boston with that drive.
We went to Gaspé Gag. So say that
to
one.
where?
Where's that?
Gaspé Gag. It's like far east, like near Gaspé, Halifax, and all that.
Whoa.
12-hour drive for a 30-minute interview. We've had requests
much,
like
man.
that. We've had requests like that, even sometimes where it's like, oh, we need to film this one interview on this side of the world. It's like, no.
For one interview,
it's like, come on, won't it be cheaper to just find someone locally?
Yeah. So then I'm looking at people, who can I spend 12 hours in a car with? You know what I mean?
That's the other thing too, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody I've worked with, I love, like my best friends are people I'm working with. So it's like,
nice.
we always have a great time on set. There's like no egos or divas or anything like that. Like we like, it's my favorite time is being on set. We're joking around. We're like creating something. It's like what keeps me going. I have a blast on set.
Production day is always the best day. Like, and I've noticed it's the same thing with our clients as well. It's almost like a field trip kind of day at school. It's just fun to do,
Yeah, for sure. I'll have clients coming in with their iPhone. They're taking pictures of the cameras. Like, whoa, this is professional. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean,
it always is funny when they're like, oh, what camera is that? That must be very expensive.
No, the best is always the look on their face where they see the trolleys come in with the equipment. They're like, wow, there's so much stuff. It's just an interview. We're like, yeah, well, you'll see in like an hour why we need all this stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had that one before too. It's just an interview. I'm like, yeah, you've seen too many Apple commercials where they press a button and everything happens. It's not the way it works.
It even shocks us sometimes when we see our carts. Like we just wrapped up this like massive like a 3-week project. And when we finally packed everything up again, it was just one really tall cart. It was almost like even up to like our chest level. And we are like, we got to take a photo of this cart. Like, oh my God.
Traveling with it is the worst. Like whenever I fly without gear, I feel like just I feel so light. But traveling with gear, man, is like, I hate those days. You're going through you're checking everything. Security's looking through it. I'm like, it's like, I hate.
You have to like debate what to bring because you're always trying to bring it as limited as possible. I used to think it was like, I remember early on when we started out, we were like traveling all over the place for like project, and we thought like, yeah, you know, we're doing projects with this bank, they're sending us to New York, to Houston. So cool. But then now it's just like, oh man, that was such a pain. You know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's good when you're just starting out, but then you quickly like acclimatize to it and you're like, nah, it's
like a week's worth for like a day's rate of
exactly
project gone.
You romanticize it, then you're actually doing it. You're like, do I really want to be waiting in the airport day after day doing this all the time? You're like, not really.
They lose your luggage, then what?
We had a shoot in the States for this educational company, and I remember like we were friends with the client, so like I just told them like, look, just bring the Ronin. You bring the Ronin, so they don't ask me a lot of questions, and I'll just bring the camera.
Yeah, this was early.
And that was like the way we did it
years ago.
Oh yeah, I did golf bag with tripods in it. I mean, I did a gig in the Dominican where we brought a crane with us, which was the stupidest move, and it was
oh my God,
move it
so
like,
bait
with the sand and everything.
It was the worst. People are like, oh,
you're never getting the sand out
too?
of that jib.
No, yeah, exactly. We had sand and everything. You know, we thought it was gonna be cool. We're filming on the beach, but like carrying all that stuff in the sand was the worst, man.
We have this tripod that we brought on we went to visit our friends in Martinique, and we brought it with us.
Yeah.
And we're still using that tripod. I think Kyrill has his camera on it right now. There's still sand in that tripod. It's been like over 5 years. There's still sand particles.
No, it's been over 8 years. Since 2014, we've had that tripod.
Oh, we went in 2014. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Tripods, they take a beating. They stand the test of time. I guess that's why some of them are like 10 grand. I'm always surprised by the cost of tripods.
We have to get some new ones. Yeah. We have to get some new ones, and holy shit, we were looking at the prices.
Yeah,
I think we're just gonna finance them. I don't feel comfortable dropping that much all at once.
$4 grand for get two. That's $8 grand right there just for sticks.
Exactly. I see some of the I think Shatler brand. I think it's called.
They actually call it Zachler. That's the right way.
That's how they pronounce it. Zachler?
Yeah, if you go to like the Viztech video videos, they call it like that.
Mind blow, or maybe it's just the guy you talk to. You know, everyone.
No, it's a German brand, so you actually call it Zachler.
Wow.
Manfrotto is Italian, I think.
Yeah, they're Italian.
Yeah,
Manfrotto.
You know, I remember when I was in Munich. I was in Munich back in 2017, and I was just walking around the city with my friend, and we just stumbled upon the RE headquarters. We're like, "What? They're headquartered there?" We didn't know that.
They're German. They're German? Are they German?
I don't know. It was the RE headquarters. We're like, I guess they are.
Maybe.
Wow.
I've always wanted to shoot with the RE Alexa. Like I wanted that to be my, if I could have one camera and just be my baby, it would be the Alexa Mini or something.
Have you shot on it?
No, I haven't shot on it actually. I've shot and everything kind of around it, but that's it. I have a C100 Mark II that I shoot 90% of my stuff on.
Wait,
still, huh?
Still, yeah. I don't even like 4K. I shoot maybe like 5% 4K right now.
Wow, that's great. You know, that really shows that that's a great case study right there, that, you know, like it's not really about the tool, it's about like what the creative is behind it. You know, like we've seen a lot of people in our network you know, get very gear hungry and they just like focus so much on that, and it's like, wait,
it's mostly the freelancers we know though.
It's usually the freelancers. But like, for example, for us, we always tried to let our cameras kind of like go as long as possible. Like the first cameras we had, I started on a T2i. That was the OG. Then the 6D, which lasted us about 3 years, you know, and then we got the A7S II, which lasted us 3 years. You know, we always tried to keep it going as long as possible. And then we got some C200s in 2019, kept those going up until just last year is when we upgraded to like the C70s as like a base camera set. You know, like you don't need to upgrade every few months or every year.
No,
It's
for sure
you
not.
really don't need to.
You would
I've
really
gone
love the
crazy.
C70 though. Like that, I love that camera. It's really good. The
going
build
from-
quality is not the greatest, but it's pretty legit.
That's the next one I want to get. Yeah, C70. I like the small form factor. And when I think about traveling for work, which I do frequently, that seems like a nice camera to pack in the bag.
We also
Yeah.
just recently ordered the R5Cs.
Okay,
So
yeah.
those two are going to complement each other like so well.
Big time.
Yeah, you're due for an upgrade. I mean, it's not that you need it, but it's like it's
No, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I've gone gear crazy for sure. I could show you credit card statements where you're like, oof, man, you better have some.
Oh no, we trust you. We trust you.
Yeah, I look at my statement, I'm like, did I buy all that? You know what I mean? So now I'm taking it easy. And it's been for the better. I also have a wife and kids, so that changes your perspective sometimes when you're
Of
like,
course.
oh, I'm gonna drop like $5,000 and I have to like feed my child. I'm like, listen, just eat Cheerios. I'm gonna buy this new lens. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta
I mean, well, one thing, if ever you are in a bind where you feel like you need certain, like, have you thought about like even like financing any of the gear or anything like that?
not really. I try to keep my debts very low, like at zero pretty much. And like I've never, the thing is I've explored cameras. Like I've looked at, C70 footage and shown it to a bunch of people on my laptop. And they're like, I'm like, which one do you like better? They're like, this one. They would all like, it was a mixed group. Nobody could tell the difference. Nobody.
Yeah.
What I like about 4K is just like resizing is really good. Even for an interview, having one camera, being able to punch in. I like that ability a lot. But I've never once had a client say, I don't like the image quality.
Yeah. It's not about that. It's more so like anytime we've been motivated to upgrade our gear has been more so something that makes our lives easier. That's always been our motivation.
Yeah,
if it
absolutely.
makes the workflow easier, then we're going to do it. And we used to think the same of like, better to buy everything outright. But then we noticed in 2019, like sometimes it might be better to have, a little bit more cash on hand if need be, and just kind of like because like some cameras, they're actually not as expensive to finance as you think. Like if, for example, you were to finance the C70 today, that would be probably $290 a month. That's one rental fee a month.
It's 250. Oh wait, to rent or to
finance, it's $290
it's 250.
a month.
It's
250. Yeah, sorry, 250.
Yeah, we pay $250 for each of them. It's pretty low.
That's a good point. I'm with you on that too. It's like, it's all about practicality. If it makes my life easier, that's my main almost litmus test for gear when I buy it. Like, is this gonna make I remember I bought the aperture lights. I think it was the 300D, and I had the softbox, and one of them you had to like really forcefully take all the prongs and stick.
Oh yeah, the original one.
The original one, and it was such a pain, and like you looked like an idiot when you showed up on set. It just took forever. And then they had one where you just pressed buttons and it popped open, and I was like, man, I don't care how much this costs. I need this thing. And shoots just went so much faster. Whenever I had to move an interview setup, I wasn't like, oh, I got to move all this. I was like, yeah, easy, let's go, let's move. So
one hack though is that original dome is actually really good for traveling purposes though, because of how you can flatten it out. That's the only thing. That's why we still have ours for that one, in case we have to travel. That's the best one to travel with.
I was at a shoot with that one and I couldn't disconnect it.
Oh yeah.
And like the client had to leave the location. We had to leave the location. It was so embarrassing because I'm trying to like yank it out of the yank it out. It just won't come out. I'm like, oh my God, we got to get the new one like today. I remember going, I just went home that day and I just ordered it. I was like, I can't take it. That was like too embarrassing.
Yeah. It's that, or when you don't know how to fold, when you're having trouble folding like a bounce or something, you're just like wrestling.
Oh, that's the worst.
You just go to the bathroom while your client's in there and you're just like, come on.
The bounces are not bad. Dario has trouble with them. He's never been able to figure it out.
I still can't figure it out. I figure it out every now and then. Like I have to watch a video. I'm like, oh, okay. So 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
Exactly.
Like that. And then I try it after a week. I'm like, nope, I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
The worst is like we did have this one black backdrop, which was like an 8-foot by 16-foot backdrop that was the same style of folding. And that one we've written off. We're never using it again because that thing, once it's up, it stays up. Because we're like, fold it, then another part gets undone. Then we get to that part, then we go back.
So, Kyrill, I had to take that down once we ripped up the old set.
Yeah, I remember.
And like I couldn't figure it out. And like my girlfriend was looking at me getting all frustrated. I was like angry at this thing, right? I had to bring it outside So it's completely dirty. There's no way we're using it anymore. I had to put it over the grass, and like somehow by some miracle, after half an hour, I was able to like close it up.
Yeah.
I should have recorded it. It looked like a Benny Hill skit.
Yeah. Maybe we will start uploading bloopers to some of these episodes, or like some other future content.
Anyways, James, let's go back to like your team. Like, have you, so you're handling everything by yourself? Like, are you overloaded? Are you handling it pretty well, or?
Yeah, no, I'm yeah, handling it pretty well. I mean, so I outsource some editing. Often I have a problem of like I can do it myself. Like I know exactly what I want, so I'm going to do it myself. So I'm getting better at like offloading some of that. At the very least, like offloading things like, you know, can you sync all these interviews? You know, giving the kind of like, I feel bad because I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that now. But, you know, when I was starting, I would have done it gladly. So I'll send sometimes some stuff just to get cleaned up, prepared for when like the creative decision making needs to be done. So I'm doing, yeah, I'm basically doing, I mean, the meetings, the sales, the editing, primary shooting, and but you know, yeah, it hasn't really been an issue, and a big thing for me has always, I'm like very big on like pricing theory and philosophy, and you know, sometimes I'm afraid I come across as like this greedy like capitalist or something, but I'm very big on creatives charging adequately and what they should, because it's, you know, like when you charge more, I used to try to always lower. I'm like, oh no, they're not gonna want that. So instead of 10, it's 8, and this is better because it's like more economical. But sometimes they, you know, they don't want that. They want something really good. They want to pay, you know, they're willing to pay the premium for something bigger. And sometimes the more money you have at your disposal, you're able to, you know, hire that graphic animator you want to hire. You're able to get a bigger team. You're able to do it better, and you're kind of cheap. You're cheapening the project by always trying to make the budget lower. You know, it's like you might do it for 8, but they would have said yes at 10, and 10 would have been a way better experience for everyone. So I'm very, very big on that, because I find creatives often don't value their work. We're so excited just to be doing what we love that we forget that, you know, okay, I need to, like, this has got to be a living too. And, you know, you're creating videos sometimes for these huge companies, and like the videos have a huge benefit, and you deserve to be compensated fairly, I think, for that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies don't see it as like the investment that it is. Like they just see it like, oh, they're getting a video. But one thing we've started to do in our pitches or our initial talks with clients or leads is like mention video as an investment to them. So it's like, what is your budget for this investment? That's how we've been phrasing things lately, because it is an investment. Like if you're if you're hiring a company to do a video for you, you should at least expect this to give you a certain amount of returns, right? And I don't think a lot of them think about that, right? Like, okay, if you're creating this product video, if this video is costing you $10,000, you should expect it to give you at least 100,000 in product sales, right? Otherwise, what's the point? Like, there's no point in creating this video for 10K and it's going to net you a result of like less than 10K, 20. That's not even worth it, right? Like, because all the time and effort that goes into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's smart. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's what they want to hear. Like I said, they don't want just your fun, creative project. They want something like, you know, they want that, but they want it to serve a purpose ultimately.
One thing we've noticed also is that like sometimes it's like clients, not all clients know exactly what they're looking for. And that's when a lot of the scrimping and saving budget talks come out, because they don't know what they want. They're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't spend $20,000 on a video if we're not exactly sure what we want to do. But in our case, like anytime we've had a client that knows exactly what they want, then they're willing to spend a little bit more, because as Dario mentioned, that's when they see the investment value and they know what that investment is probably going to do. If they don't know what they want, then they don't know what they're going to get in return. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of like, you know, coaching, explaining to be done in meetings that helps them understand it a bit more.
Do you find that there's like it's sometimes a little hard to do that, because it's like, okay, you're basically telling them, hey, I'm a production company, but you need, like, you can get to the stage where you're basically telling them, look, if you don't know this stuff, you kind of need like a marketing or ad agency to help you out. And then by that point, you're kind of talking yourself out of the room. Don't you find there's like a fine line
Yeah.
for that?
Yeah, exactly. And I find a lot of it, it's video production, but it kind of starts to bleed into marketing a little bit when you're steering them as to what they should do or shouldn't do. I've had companies like, we want this video, this is what we want done. And I'll often say, okay, that's, it's like going to a doctor and saying, hey, like, I need you to remove my appendix. And the doctor's like, why? I haven't even checked yet. You know what I mean? You're like, so I'll go in, they'll say, hey, we need this and this and this. I'm like, it's like, how come you're telling me what video you need? That should be my expertise. I should be able to help lead you as to what you need. What's your goal? Oh, it's this. Okay, maybe that means, a series of 15-second videos. Maybe that means a minute video that you post on LinkedIn. And I find that's where you can really get good projects with good budgets that allow you to make really cool content. But it starts to bleed a bit into marketing, and because you're starting to explore, like, this is, not necessarily just what you're making, but why you're making it. But those areas is where, you start to command bigger budgets and you start to have more just ability to do cooler things. Like the moment I started charging was the moment my work got exponentially better and the projects had a bigger ROI. So it's like, it wasn't a dirty word, having a big budget. I used to try to always stay under budget. Like, I don't want to go crazy. I want to get the gig. Now it's like, okay, what do I need to charge to do it well, period.
Exactly.
And I'll often, the biggest thing I've done is charge, like, providing options has been the biggest, I think, change for me in my business, is having, here's option 1, here's option 2. And then option 3, I do, okay, if money wasn't an object and they wanted to do this project the absolute best I could, no matter how much it cost, how much would that cost? What would be included? And then the other 2 options are realistically one they'll book, but having the third one there doesn't stop them from booking the other ones. It gives them the choice. You're not giving them an ultimatum of saying, hey, this is the price or don't talk to me. And you're also helping them not go to other people to get comparable quotes, because you're showing them, hey, this is option 1, where we're kind of holding your hand a little bit, but we're just kind of saying, hey, this is what usually for me, it's a consultancy style thing where, like, shoot, maybe with your phone, I'll give you tips what to do. We'll talk about it. Number 2 is realistically the option 90% of the time they take, which is kind of fits the bill exactly. And number 3 is, okay, if you want to go crazy with it and really, really, really do this right, that option's there. And for like a plethora of reasons that I could talk about nonstop, that kind of gives them a good perspective on what can be done. Quite often, they'll see a huge option. They're like, wow, that's crazy. You guys do stuff for that amount. This one's like a third of that price in the middle. What a great deal. You know what I mean? Let's take that one. Just from like a pricing perspective for them, it helps with that. And then again, like you give them the choice. You're making the choice for them by not giving them the high end option. Maybe they do want that. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a classic sales technique, right? You offer them 3 options and like 90% of the time they go for the middle option. We were actually wondering this early on, because I remember we were trying to bring on a salesperson. He was telling us about how we need to have like packages, and then we were like, no, like every video we do has to be like custom quoted. But actually this month we've been shifting our mindset more so towards like, okay, I think the best approach is actually to offer leads like three options. Like, this is like the very bare bones type of video we could do. This is like how we would want to do it. And then this is like, if money wasn't an option, this is what we would want, right?
That's the key, because essentially, like, it's not about like a lot of companies, they put like three packages on their website for people, but that's very general, right? That it's not tailored to the clients. But what you're doing in practice, which really works well, and what we're thinking about doing as well, is that you're creating 3 tailored custom packages to each client. That way, as you said, usually they're going to go for like the one in the middle. Not necessarily that you want to steer them towards that, but it's like you're giving them options so that they feel like, they've already like weighed, felt like they've seen what's out there. They know what a really high end one will be, what a really low end one will be. You're teaching them, you're educating them, and you're becoming like an expert in their eyes. And like you said, who knows, they might find an extra 50 grand under the seat cushions, to pay for that big one.
I've had a few projects like that where I've done 1 and 2, and I'm like, the third one, like, you know what, let's go crazy and do this like 100% the way it should be done. And they call me back and they're like, yeah, let's do the third one. I'm like, oh my God, that's
now you
You're
got
like, oh
now you
no.
got to deliver.
Have you ever pitched an idea where you were like, you were sold on it, but you knew it was going to be a lot of work, or like, oh, it's going to be good, but I kind of don't want them to pick it because of how crazy it'll be. And then they pick it.
For
You're
sure.
like,
Well, you book
gotta
it,
do it now.
You're jacked up, and then you're like excited, you know, you're walking around the house or the office, you're like, yeah, I got the gig. And then you stop and you're like, wait, I have to do all this now. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be a lot of work, actually.
There's
you know,
so much. I know, like there's
yeah, for sure.
so much in pre-production, especially for those projects, and like the actual filming is like 1 or 2 days sometimes, where like 90% of it is in the
pre-production is huge. And I mean, a lot of my stuff now, like I used to price and have like, you know, I'm going to bring the Ronin, I'm going to have the drone. This is how much the drone is. This is how much the Ronin is. This is how much. And then it got simpler and simpler and simpler. Cause like, your clients, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't know what half that stuff is. And they start picking away at it. Hey, can we remove this Ronin thing for $300? What is that? So the more I got away from that and got simpler and simpler, and just kind of, the less I can have in there, ultimately the better.
Did you go more so from like equipment you're going to be bringing to more so like people you're going to be bringing?
I have
like
that
talent and expertise.
Sometimes, I'll have like, you know, sound engineer, things like that. But like even pre-production, you know, sometimes it's the most important part. But I remember getting, you know, they're looking at it, it's like, well, how come this is more than everything else? Like, this is where you're making the video. What's all this? Like, I'm paying you to think. What is that? Like, that's kind of the mentality. They're like, how you're not doing anything though? And I'm like, no, I'm doing a lot. Like, I'm preparing this and that, you know? And so now it's kind of all encompassed in one thing. Like, here's the goal, here's what we're achieving, and we'll do the video. Less opportunity to kind of nitpick at stuff. They don't know what it means anyways. So let's just keep it simple. And that's helped as well. Obviously, there's some detail in there, like this is how many shooting days we have, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I try to include, you know, as much as I can without having to go back to them and say, hey, like I need an extra $200, I need an extra $1,000, I need this. I try to really make sure I get the scope of it well. And if I got it wrong, then I eat it and I just take the shot. And that's what I tell them. I'm like, listen, I'm not giving you a pair of shoes and saying, you know, go walking, and in 10 days I'll be like, hey, those shoes, they're $300. You're going to know before you put the shoes on how much the shoes are, you know? And you can charge a little bit more. You can pad it by 10, 20% just to cover yourself. But you tell the comfort for them knowing, hey, like I'm not going to have to go to my boss and say, hey, you know that video we did? It's 2 times the price now, it turns out.
Yeah. You need to be very upfront early on, because the last thing you want to do, like a customer experience is everything.
Oh yeah.
And if you, like you said, if you go to them and say, oh yeah, this video will probably be like $2,000, $3,000. And then later you say, oh, sorry, now it's going to be $10,000. They're going to be like, well, hold on a second. Like,
that's like 3 times.
Obviously, there are other factors that sometimes determine it. Like if, say, for example, a client comes to you and says, oh, instead of 1 video, we need like 3 or 4 videos. That's a different story.
Sure. Yeah.
But if it's like, you need to know, as the professional, you need to know how much everything is going to be. You need to know what resources are going to be needed right from the get-go, because like you said, if you get it wrong, you got to eat the cost. That's just how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're the professional, you should know. And that's, I agree totally.
That's why you figure out everything before that contract is signed. Then you send over the invoice.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Do you charge at the end of the project, or do you break it up into 2, one before like the shoot date and then one?
I break it up. I usually do 50, 25, 25. So I'll do
50, 25, 25.
Oh, that's interesting.
To book, 25 once the 50 to book, 25 after production, and 25 once you get the final edit.
Okay.
At least the amount at the end is good, because, you know, sometimes if you're changing, you don't want to be chasing a client. They're like, we're gonna get the revisions to you, but taking some time, and then like 3 months, you're like, hey, you know, where's that huge chunk of money that I'm waiting on? So
we need that 80 grand to be alive.
I got some, some lenses and stuff to buy, you know.
Lenses to buy,
So
we used to do that at the end, like at the end of the project, then we'd send it out. And now we're just like, as soon as that contract is signed, we'll either issue the full amount or half to be due before the shoot date, and then half like the other half is issued like right after the shoot date, right? But how do you deal with it when, like, because sometimes the issue we run into is that they have their Well, I mean, like with our corporate clients, the big issue is that they have their billing cycles.
Yeah, I
So you
know.
got to
Yeah.
get into their. What do you do with that? Do you just kind of just issue it and then just wait like for their billing cycle to go through?
Unless they're like a big company, like if it's Nike, I'm like, you can pay me whenever you want. Like I don't care.
They'll pay
Uh,
you. They'll pay you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Just do
Other
it.
companies, I'm like, they're like, oh, our billing cycle is 60 days. I'm like, that's cool. My billing cycle's 2 weeks. So
So you just tell them and they're
yeah,
cool with that.
and if that doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But that's,
Uh,
I don't know, that's my cycle. I mean, sometimes I'll even, so again, doing the 3 options, sometimes I'll have it so that the first option is 100% upfront. The second option is 50-50, and the third option is, 25-75 or what have you. So the payment options are a little more back end if you pay the higher end one. So that gives you an option of saying, yeah, this one's cheaper, but it's all up front. This one's a lot more, but I'm not paying as much up front. And sometimes that,
That helps.
Yeah, that helps. So,
but the irony is that if they're going for that type of budget, they already have it anyways, right?
yeah, exactly.
Money's always like, everyone has different money philosophies on this stuff, and everyone has a boss that has their own either old
Boss.
school opinion or their principle. It's like, why would I be paying
Yeah,
now when you haven't done anything yet?
exactly.
No, I don't think we run into that, Kyrill, because like
Not as
with our
much
corporate ones,
now,
they just send it to billing, and then billing just says like, oh yeah, it's like 30 or 60 days, and we just like they don't really care, right?
This is
Like,
more so what I've heard.
it's not their
also,
money,
right? It's also what we hear and what we see. So a lot of people complain about that stuff, but I've learned very quickly over the last few years that it's it's the people, it's the clients that you work with. Like you have to vet them. You have to choose who you're working with, because I remember the first time Dario and I said no to a potential like massive project was like back in 2016 so it was like a 20K project, and we were like, oh man, that's more than we've ever done in like a month.
too many
or
red
2 months.
flags.
But the red flags just kept shooting up constantly. We're like, no, we have to do it. Painful, but you got to do it.
Smart. You're just gonna have someone badmouth you all the time because they just never were gonna be happy. So you're like, okay, don't.
But we were kind of worried of not getting paid, to be honest with you. Like there was a lot of stuff, and they were expecting us to cover, and we're like, no.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you start, it's good to have some money up front too, because you can start renting stuff, start paying people, giving deposits, and you're waiting for the money, and you're like, am I a bank? Like I just basically loaned money at 0 interest for.
Well, it's commitment too, right?
Yeah,
because it's like if they pay, then they can't just like last minute say, you know what, we're not gonna go through with this. Now it's like, well, they have to go through with it. They put 50% up. If they don't, then great, I got paid for pre-production and part of production, right? So
cash flow is so important in our business, because that's the one thing that lacks a lot, especially when you're running with these types of like bigger projects. Like we've had times where it's like, okay, like we're waiting for like maybe like a whole half chunk of a project to come in. It's like, yeah, we've broken it up and it helps a little bit, but again, cash flow is so important to keep afloat, paying the bills.
And just paying your freelancers too, right? Like I know we've all been on the other end when we were freelancers, and like you're just waiting for payment. You're like, why am I not being paid yet? Like I should have been paid like a while, and I gotta chase now. Like, come on, man, like where's my money? Like that's why with us, like we pay our freelancers like the next day.
As soon as we
just want to get it done, like I just want them to be happy. And I know what it's been like. So like the next day it's like, send me your invoice, I'll get you paid right now. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no, I'm the same way, and that goes hand with like, again, having a healthy enough budget where it helps, because I want my team that comes to be fed. I want to, if we have to get hotel, I want everything to be well done and everybody be taken care of, be happy. So, and that makes the project better. Like I just don't want to have run productions where people aren't treated the way they should be.
You want it to be a positive experience, not only for the client, but also for all the people you work with, because if you have a happy crew, the work is going to show. It's going to show in the work. If you don't treat your crew right, they're the ones who are handling all the elements and materials for you, and they're going to be the ones that either put in the effort or not. So you got to make sure you keep them happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey James, since it's I want to go back to like just how you've structured your business in a very skeletal way, because that's kind of how we want to keep things going forward. But have you found that like since you're the only one running it, like you've had to really pick and choose your projects, and like sometimes you would have had to like say no to projects that you would otherwise would have wanted to take on just because you're too loaded up?
Trying to think of an example. Not really. I mean, I could see that being an issue that could happen, but I've had projects where I say, okay, like this is really good. When's your timeline? And kind of placing everything. We're like, that's cool. Like, let's say, can we do it in a month from now? Would that work? When are you hoping to get the project done? So I'm pretty good at kind of moving things around where I need to. There's a few projects, a few times where I've said, yeah, I don't think we should, you know, if you can do it next month, then we're yours. But this month we're booked up. That's happened. But most of the time they've come back. It wasn't like as urgent as they maybe initially said it was.
It's always urgent, right?
It's always urgent. Yeah. We need this right now.
We need it next week.
I need it yesterday. So yeah, that hasn't happened too much. And I think they just look at it like, wow, this guy's busy. You know, he must be good. He didn't just say yes and do whatever I wanted him to.
Yeah, we're not yes men.
Exclusivity, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So sometimes I work at like all this, like, you know, I get really into like the money and the finance part of it and the business part of it, but I'm passionate about it because I love the art. I love all that. Like, I think that's just kind of a given, but I'm passionate about, you know, making sure people can do this sustainably. Because sometimes I see people doing amazing work and they're like, I'm like, man, you're gonna starve to death if you keep charging that. You know, I want to see you doing it a long time and I want to see you getting better. And the only way to do that is to make sure you're being compensated fairly. And, you know, I'm never trying to like trick people, rip people off. I want to make sure, like you guys mentioned, if we're spending 20 grand on this, let's make you guys 50, 60. Let's make this worth it. You know, I want it to be worth it. So both sides are, you know, you guys are eating and they're getting the benefit and we're all just lifting each other up. Like,
Hey, that's the other thing I wanted to mention too, is like, how do you handle switching between like business mindset and creative mindset? Because that's something we've struggled a lot in the past. Like it's fine now, but like trying to switch between like, okay, now we just have to focus on like the business side of our company, and then like all of a sudden now we also have to switch to creative. Like we got to come up with like a good story for this video and all that. Like it's difficult to do, right? Like it's very hard to manage. How do you go about it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I really try to break up the time. You know, this morning I'll wake up, have coffee, I'm going to do just creative stuff. I'm not touching business, and make sure I compartmentalize it as much as I can. And just having apps and software that helps, like contracts. I use agree.com. I have FreshBooks, Frame.io.
Frame.io is amazing.
Oh,
yeah,
the best
that,
thing ever.
Oh my God, yeah. The moment I got that, like clients love it. So yeah, just having tools that help. I've used Acuity for like scheduling, and just trying to get tools that really help take some of the management off my hands.
Yeah, and I guess it's smart that you're splitting up your time in chunks. So like it's not like you'll do 1 hour business and then you'll focus 1 hour on creative. You're just doing like, okay, half of the day I'm focusing on just business, admin, whatever. And then the other half you'll do like creative stuff. That's a good way of going about it.
Yeah, I think we've tried that a couple of times in the past there, and we definitely need to bring it back. Like even having like 30-minute just like creative discussion sessions on some like topics and ideas and things like that. No business, you know, like the last year has been very business focused because with the pandemic it forced us to be, because we realized all the holes, all the things that we needed to kind of rebuild and restructure. And because of that, we got into such a huge business mindset. It's like, okay, now we're creeping back into the creative a bit more, you know, go back to the roots of, you know, why we started everything, is to create great work, you know, work that we're passionate about. And, you know, like obviously you need the foundation as a business owner, you know, you completely understand, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I try to carve out time just to like sit on my couch and watch Vimeo videos, get inspired.
That's good.
And feel often inadequate because I see some work out there. I'm like, my God, so good.
I know.
There's a good website.
Just so good.
There's a good website called it's called The Inspiration, and they'll just like send you like I think daily content where they just show like these are the top ads, like not just like video ads, but they'll also show like paper ads as well, like billboard ads. Like it's really interesting stuff, and they just curate it and send it to you.
Yeah, I have it right here open on my on my computer.
You You know that site?
Yeah, you shared it with me like a couple months back. So I go on that every now and then and
Yeah,
watch some
it
stuff.
helps. It helps because on Vimeo, like you have to like do your research. Like you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
know what you're
exactly. Yeah.
looking for versus like this, they just do it for you. You're like, okay, these are like the top ads.
Ah,
There's another
it's
website
the
called,
Inspiration.
it's called The Inspiration.
Okay.
And there's another site called Ads of the World. If you just want like
Yeah,
video
ads
ads,
of the
like it's
world are
just
good.
a bunch of companies just posting their videos on there. So you can
Cool.
kind of see like these are like what's trending now.
Good to know.
The one thing I like about Vimeo, and I think James, you probably have experienced this as well, is I like sometimes seeing where my rabbit hole goes. You know, where you're watching a video, then you see another recommended one, then
Yeah,
another
yeah.
recommended one, then you don't know where you ended up. You're like, these
Yeah,
are all
yeah.
cool projects that I wouldn't have found if I was trying to search it, because sometimes you don't know what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
that's the cool thing about Vimeo sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. And more so than YouTube, because YouTube, you just, I don't know, ends up being a
It's
cat hitting
it's
someone
all,
with a frying pan or something. You're like, yeah, this is now
The
I'm
keyboard
melting
cat.
my brain. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. This is
all
not
those
doing anything.
React videos that used to
Yeah,
be a
yeah,
thing.
exactly. That's so yeah, there's some funny stuff. There's some funny stuff on there. I've seen some funny stuff on Twitch too. It's an interesting
Oh, I
stuff.
couldn't
I
get
don't know. There's
into it.
interesting about that. No, I'm not really I was just on it the other day, kind of. I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on there, and there's some just strange stuff. There's like live feeds of some guy's horses. I was like, what?
Some
Who's
guy's
watching
horses.
this? I don't know, and it had like 250 viewers. It was,
Who's just sitting
People
there
watching.
watching horses?
I don't know. There's a lot of people out there doing a lot of different stuff. So I'm like, man.
I think it's just people that got really high and they don't know how to exit it. So
Yeah,
they're just like,
exactly.
They're like, I'm
zoning out.
stuck. I'm stuck watching horses.
Have you seen the show, bro? It's crazy.
This
I don't know
is
what
wild, man. That's Steven over there hanging out with Josh.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Oh man.
So we're kind of like already past now the 1 hour mark. Before we kind of like start to wind down a bit, we just wanted to kind of get a sense of like what's in store for the future of for you with Slant Visuals. Like what's coming down the pipeline.
Honestly, I'm excited about getting more into these human stories, man. I love, one of my favorite parts is interviewing people. And I think I watch documentaries now where I'm like, man, that interview was incredible. Like the answers they got, it's such a huge element. It's really hard when you have a bad interview to make something really strong and powerful. You're like, yeah, visually it looks good, the sound's good, but there's
The
just
content.
yeah, there's nothing to it. Like there's nothing like, yeah, it's pretty, but I'm not feeling anything. You know what I mean? And
It's when all the copy and the text come in to explain the story.
yeah, exactly. And
It's like a black and white movie without sound. You got to go to like the title screen.
Yeah.
That is the new way of doing it, technically, if you think about it.
And avoiding having to, like, before you show someone, being like, okay, like this is what the video is about, I'm gonna explain it to you. Like they should just be able to watch it, and
yeah,
through the voice over it be good. So just getting more into that and helping clients, because I've had so many clients often say like, here's our script that we want people to say for the video, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's not going to be like, I'll like reverse engineer the questions so we can get those answers, but these people aren't actors. Let's get something human. And I'm very passionate about helping these brands who have that mentality, saying, hey, let's connect with the people here, let's tell an authentic, genuine story. And that's going to do way more than you think being perfectly polished robotic corporate companies is going to look. There's people at your office, or whatever your company, let's tell their story in a genuine way, and just getting better at doing it, getting better at getting the right answers, finding the right questions to ask, really getting into asking why a lot. I used to just ask certain questions. Now I say why up to 5 times. Just why. That's where like the kind of the meat of the story is. So just really,
he's like Kubrick. He's asking this. He's doing like 50 takes, just asking the same question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes I try to be concise, but I've done like an hour and a half interviews just to like really get comfortable. And I've also done 15 minutes.
Good.
Sometimes the interview's fantastic and I don't even need to go any longer. It really depends on the person you get. So just really getting better at the story element. The filmmaking element is always important, and I want to get better at using that skill set to help tell it, but really just getting better at finding good stories and fleshing them out by doing good interviews.
It's all content, like it doesn't matter the medium or the tool. You can do it in writing, you can do it in print, you can do it in video, in photo. there's an infinite number of ways to tell stories, and people get a little bit too focused sometimes on that aspect. But it really is all the content and that kind of focus, you know, like occasionally we've had clients who have even asked us like, what camera are you using? And we're like, why are you asking that?
It doesn't matter.
Like, why are you asking this question? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm giving it to you in 4K or HD. If your story is not good, then it doesn't matter, you know. But that, like you said, James, that's why we're here. We're here to tell the real stories, you know, like try to really find the content that even sometimes they don't even see in themselves. And that's the one cool thing about it, you know, finding like that chef's idea, you know, like that you probe for, like, that's awesome. You know, the client would never have thought, what kind of like financial institution is going to think, oh, well, do we have a chef in the house? You know?
Absolutely. And it worked.
Wait, did he cook you a meal?
He did, actually. He did.
Hey!
We had tuna tartare. Actually, it was delicious.
Oh, interesting.
I know. Yeah, the budget for the food was a lot. Like, the fortune that I was like, man, that was some expensive tuna that you bought.
Wow.
It was a delicious meal. Yeah, it was good. That was a fun.
Perks.
That was a fun video. And it
so
worked.
Did you have to get lunch for that shoot, or did he just?
No, the chef cooked it, bro.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was a dinner. We shot that late too. We shot that at like 10 at night or something, because
he didn't get food. He got ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what he did. He went to the grocery store.
Yeah, you can see it's on our Instagram, so you can see it there if you want to.
Oh yeah. No,
sure.
we'll definitely check it out.
But it
what's your Instagram account called?
So Slant Visuals. Yeah. There'll be
Find
a link
them everywhere there.
on my
Slant
website.
Visuals.
Yeah.
Oh, Dario just froze again.
I froze exactly as he started saying his Instagram.
Yeah, you can find it on the website, or just Google Google Instagram, search Slant Visuals. It'll be there.
James, before we end this off, why don't you tell us how you came up with the name?
Slant. Well, I was trying to come up with a name that's, at first I'm like, what sounds interesting? What sounds good? And what I liked about Slant was, apart from it just being short, I like condensed names. I don't want anything too long.
Yeah.
I like slant as, you know, when you're looking at something, you kind of tilt your head slanted to see it from a different perspective. That's kind of where I want our heads to be with my clients often, is like, let's not go into it super obvious. Let's like look at it from a different perspective. Maybe there's something else there that we're not thinking about that'll be really interesting. Let's get a little creative with it.
Man, everyone we've been bringing on, they have such like cool stories for how they came up with their name. I feel like we haven't done enough work for ours.
Ours wasn't too bad. But it came up with,
it
like,
does sound cool though.
Yeah, we came up with cool ideas behind it though.
You can spend months trying to come up with a name. Eventually, like, I need to start shooting. So
need to get to work, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think our clients will mind too much what our name is, you know?
Yeah, no. But yeah, okay.
It's awesome, guys. I mean, I could go on for, if I didn't have a meeting in like 30 minutes, I would stay on forever.
No, I think like, honestly, like, our talk was so good. Like, we're definitely going to bring you back on in the future as well for another episode. Like, I think it's good now. We're just past the 1 hour mark, which we promised our listeners we were going to stick to.
I'm trying to keep it to one,
over an hour or under, but
there's always so many cool like ideas that we were sharing and talking about, you know, and then we just go on tangents, you know, and then who knows, like, I used to wonder how podcasts would go for 3 hours sometimes. Like, I'm
not surprised now.
I get it. Yeah, especially with this, like, you know, man, I could, like I said, I could keep going and going and going. You know, I don't know if my wife wants to hear about it anymore, you know. I've chewed her ear off.
We get it. You're creative. You're awesome. Good job. You know,
exactly.
Yes, the website looks good.
Like, yes, you've told me that story. I'm like,
yes, the website looks good. I've seen that page already.
Exactly.
I see that new logo you're using, the new icon. It looks good. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, what's for dinner?
Exactly. And it's so fun, like, talking with people in this industry, you know, like, I know some people, it's like, what do you do? Oh, I do this, and I hate it. Like, I can't wait for the weekend. And like, I find people in film, they're always excited. They're like, check out this new video I saw, check out this piece of gear I bought. Like, we're a bunch of kids we're having a blast, you know, it's awesome. And I love, like, even getting off this call, and when I go to my meeting, I'm going to be like so full of energy, because I'm just excited now about doing more cool stuff. Like, so for me, it's like, it's contagious. And I love that about this industry.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we have to hustle like so much harder than everyone else. Like, that if you didn't like it, you would have just gone and done something else.
Yeah,
It would have been easier to do that than to like stick through with it. So
he wouldn't have gotten on this podcast show, you know, some Joe Schmoes from Toronto reaching out to him in Montreal. It's like, want to hop on a show with us?
Man, I'm gonna call my parents, tell them I made it. I'm famous now.
He's famous.
I'm expecting to see a billboard somewhere about this episode.
yeah.
No, we really appreciate you jumping on and talking with us. And like you said, you know, the one good thing that we like about the show that we're noticing, and you kind of pointed it out, is that, you know, it's kind of like hyping us up, you know, like we get inspired by hearing other people's stories as well, hearing some of their ideas, sharing some of yours, and just feeding off of that energy, you know, like I get surprised each time with like just kind of where we're at by the end of the call. It's like, wow, it's like, James, I feel like I really know you, like just after this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down to grab a beer, man. Let's do it.
Anytime you're in Toronto,
anytime we're in Montreal, or if you're in Toronto, like 100%.
Schwartz. We'll go to Schwartz in Montreal.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, he hasn't tried it. Dario hasn't tried it yet.
I haven't tried it. No.
So good. So good.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it at that, James. Thanks again for joining us, and you know, we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good, guys.